Hello, and welcome to the Cyber Academic, where I talk to students, academics, and industry experts about topics where the cyber domain intersects with the real world. My name is Ahmed Ibrahim, and I am a lecturer and researcher in cybersecurity at Edith Cowan University. This is episode number 2 with Mayank Mehra. He shares his experiences as a successful international student and his entry into industry after university studies. He will be sharing valuable advice to current and future cybersecurity students aiming to get a job in this field. After graduating from Edith Cowan University with a Master of Cybersecurity, he started working as a Cyber Security Analyst at the Department of Premier and Cabinet in Western Australia. In addition to being a top student, he also did a few extra things that made him more technically competent as well as more competitive in the job market. He has expertise in software development, vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, secure software review, and cybersecurity governance. Welcome to the Cyber Academic, Mayank.
Hey Ahmed, thank you for welcoming here.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Really enjoying my weekend. How about you?
Yeah, likewise. The weather's been good. We are towards the end of the semester, so nothing to complain about. It's been a while since I've met you. I think it was maybe 2 years back we met in person. But it's good to see you after a long time.
Yeah, we did meet once before as well. During the internship when you had come as a as a coordinator for a couple of students, I think,
Yeah,
during the CRC projects, if I'm
yeah.
not
It
mistaken.
seems like very recent, but it's been I think more than a year now since
It
then.
would be definitely a year. I think it's a year and a half, if not more. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Oh, well, so Mayank, so right now you are working in the Department of Premier and Cabinet, but earlier, of course, you were working there as a student as well in the Work Integrated Learning Program, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So, to start off, could you tell us a little bit about what your role is in DPC?
Currently, I actually do a fair few things in the Department of Premier and Cabinet. So, one of my major roles is engaging with agencies. So, we behave like a consultancy for agencies. What we do is we go to agencies and have a discussion with them regarding what their needs in terms of cybersecurity are. For example, we go to an agency and we go, do you need help with vulnerability management? Do you need help with phishing? Do you need help with Active Directory review or things like that? So that kind of an agency engagement and understanding where they stand and how we can improve that is some of the things we help with. So we actually run the vulnerability assessments for them and generate a report for them. It helps them understand what kind of vulnerabilities there are and how they can improve on themselves. So we have those kind of things with them as well and try and understand where the gaps lie. So that is kind of one of the portions of my job. Another thing we work with agencies for is penetration testing, right? So I support another colleague of mine who's the lead pen tester. I support him with pen testing activities. So we engage with agencies, understand where what systems they want to be tested, and then we go ahead with scoping the systems, and then we go with the pen testing activity with those agencies as well.
So, when you mention agencies, are you referring to state based local government agencies?
Not local governments. We haven't started engaging with local governments at the moment, but state-based agencies definitely. So it could be your commissions, it could be agencies, it could be department ofs, it could be anything. So basically, about 133 public sector, the WA government,
Okay, so uh,
basically.
you mentioned that their request for this sort of activities to be conducted, is this normally or typically after a certain incident, or this is more of a regular compliance thing which they have been doing regularly or they recently started doing?
DGov has recently started. So DGov is a pretty new department. So cybersecurity unit, which is a part of the Office of Digital Government, is fairly new. I would say 2 years ago. So when I joined, it was 6 months old with just Peter Bullis and another colleague of his. And since then, we have grown to a team of 12 employees. So we have grown a fair bit with eye to grow further.
Hmm.
So it's a fairly new team, and initially we had to go ahead and ask agencies, you probably need this, you probably need this.
Yeah.
Now the tables have turned a bit, and agencies have started to realize the value of the services we offer, and they are off asking us to perform those services for them without any need, a mandatory requirement, or without an incident occurring. So the agencies have seen the value in the services we offer.
This is quite interesting because, instead of being mandated to do these things, people are recognizing the importance of cybersecurity and
Exactly.
proactively taking these measures. It's a good shift in culture as well, isn't it?
Exactly. That is something we are aiming to achieve. So we aim to have a discussion with as many agencies, and not just at the IT security management level. We also aim to have these discussions at the decision making executive level or higher. So maybe like the CIOs or the director generals and higher level. So if we try to reach that level more as well, so that way they understand the value of investing in cybersecurity for their agencies and departments and so on and so forth.
So you have been with the DPC for since 2018, late 2018.
That is correct.
Has your role evolved during this time, or have you always done this kind of activities?
I have my role has evolved a lot. So let me put it this way, right? So considering we started off with a team of 2 or 3 people, the role had has evolved a fair bit. Initially, it's like a startup environment, right? You have work, you have to get things done. You have to be good at almost everything. You have to improve yourself consistently. So initially, when I joined as a cybersecurity project coordinator. So my role was actually helping peer bureaus with reportings and training and awareness. These two were two of the main things that I was looking for, and I was also managing this CRC students. As time progressed, I was this my work was less technical, though at that initial stages, and it was more reporting and things like that. I had more interest towards the technical side, but at the stage you pick up what you get. You don't just be like, I want to do this and I'm just going to do that, but you pick up what you get, and then you evolve and try and focus on what you want to achieve. So that's when I started focusing a little more on my cybersecurity side of things, and I'm a
Yep.
cybersecurity analyst where I'm working on a lot more technical things, like I mentioned just before.
I think that's a very interesting thing which you just mentioned because when I speak to students in class, of course, everybody has a view of what they want to be when they finish their course and get into the workforce. But obviously, they wouldn't start in their dream position. So you get into the industry, at, like you said, take what you get. It may be a very junior position, but then through time, through proving yourself, proving your skills, and then evolve yourself into that dream position that you want to be, isn't it? One thing that you mentioned was you were managing CRC students. So you yourself starting in DPC as a student and then coming to this position where you were looking after other students. How did it feel?
To be honest, actually, I didn't start at DPC as a student though. I did my internship at another company. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So I
Yeah.
actually, yeah, yeah. So I
Okay.
did my internship at Diamond Cyber, which is now a part of Cyber CX. So I started off my internship there, but I joined as a cybersecurity project coordinator here, and I've been managing. Initially, I managed some CRC students.
Yep.
Now I manage interns as well. So when students from ECU, for example, they do the internship with us, I manage them throughout the course of their 12 13 weeks that they have with us, and make sure that they have whatever support they need, and they get upskilled with various things whatever I'm doing. So we basically, when we go out to agencies, like I mentioned, we get the students to go with us, and they get an understanding of how to deal with these with clients, how to work in a professional environment. And when we come back, they know what they're expected to do. So they know firsthand from the client what they expect, and then they can make do those things, activities like be it policy mapping or be it technical side of things. They do it all.
you were placed in Diamond Cyber for your work integrated learning during your master's program. And what were you working as when you were in Diamond Cyber?
So I did penetration testing. So I was a ethical hacker there.
Yep.
So that was something that was definitely very interesting, and it gave me a fair bit of a lot of experience for me to actually use for me when I now work in the same role here. So those things are useful.
Yep. Have you always been interested in the more technical side, hands-on kind of activities? Because right now you are in a more soft skill based role, isn't it?
To be honest, now it's a mix of both. So I like the current role that I'm doing, to be very honest.
Yeah.
So currently I do two things, right? So I am also involved in the governance, risk and compliance side of things,
Hmm.
as well as the technical side of things as well.
Good
So
mix.
this is exactly, so this is the kind of mix that I've always looked for, because uh, I like the technical. I love doing the technical side of things, but I also love learning about how we people could potentially abuse the system, the policies, and everything, and get away with it. So, and how we can enforce a change in the culture, because cybersecurity is not all about the technical side of things. The policy, the documentation, the cultural side of things are very equally important to actually improve the cybersecurity maturity of an agency or of any organization or a system. So when I get to do a mix of both, it gives me an understanding of why there are some lacking technical controls, and how we can influence the management side of things to actually get the technical side of things in place as well. So it's a good mix and healthy mix of things that I have here. So definitely I'm loving the role that I'm doing.
Well, that's very positive. You you came to Australia as an international student, right?
That is
To do
correct.
your masters, and you had uh, you did your undergrad back in India.
That is correct.
It was a technical degree, and during that time, was it then that you started getting into cybersecurity while you were doing your undergraduate degree?
Let me put it this way, right? So, I've done my bachelor's in mechanical engineering. It's
Okay.
technical, but it's not
It is
cyber
not
computer
cyber.
related at all. It
That's
is
not
not
cyber.
computer related. It's not. So yeah, I was a mechanical engineer, right? So the thing is, when in India, when we did our engineering, right, you don't just do mechanical. You just don't just study mechanical. You learn a lot of other things. Programming was something we learned as well. Now I've been programming since I was really young. I would say about 5 years old, or maybe something of that sort. I've been programming since then. I don't know if you know the language Logo. I don't even know if you heard that language. Yeah.
I've heard
So
of it.
exactly. So it's that older language. So I've started from there. And I always used to love programming, but I loved physics as well, right? I
Yep.
still do. I actually love physics as well. So what happened is, when I started doing my mechanical engineering, I learned there was a lot of thermodynamics in it, and that is something I was not a big fan of. Let's be very honestly speaking, that was not something that tickled my fancy. But programming did. I love programming. So what I did was, once I finished my mechanical engineering, I was directly hired into Oracle. I was a software developer with Oracle for 2 years after that, and that's when I realized the importance of cybersecurity. To be honest, I would see production environments being extra secure with YubiKeys, even like let's say 2014. That is a fair bit of time ago, right? So currently, it's 6 years ago. People were using YubiKeys and securing your production environments, which showed me that people are concerned about it. So that is where my interest in cybersecurity started. And then I wanted to do my master's, and I was considering what fields I should pick up. Should I do software dev, which I can do even in my sleep, but there's something else. So that's when I picked up cybersecurity. Was something that really interested me because of the rate at which things change in cybersecurity.
Mm.
Let's say, for example, passwords, right? Like a few years ago, you would say, oh, 8 character passwords, good, awesome. Then you'd say, oh, make it complex. Awesome. Then you increase. Now, slowly, people are like, oh, complexity is probably not the most important thing, but length of password is important. You need to change your password regularly, is what you were told before. Now they say, probably if it's crack, then you change. So the rate at which
And
things
now we want to
evolve.
get rid of passwords, right?
Exactly, right? That's the best solution. So when you look at these things, it makes you realize that it's such a fast changing and fast paced industry. It keeps you on your toes, it keeps you interested, and that is the kind of thing that really I like, because you don't get bored doing one thing. You always, there's something new that's happening and you have to evolve with it. And I love learning, so that just
Hmm.
that was the best industry for me. So that's when I picked up cybersecurity.
So on the topic of learning, when you're here Australia as an international student doing your masters in cybersecurity in ECU, um, you were a top student. You you don't have
Yeah.
to be modest. You were a straight HD student. And while you were studying, you were also very busy, engaged with other activities in the university in our outreach programs. So I want to pick on both of these things. As a student, you mentioned things about how dynamic cybersecurity is, how things are always changing, and obviously, I can see that you are very keenly interested in things related to programming, which some people are just allergic to. So, how did you manage to remain a top student and be engaged in other activities? And what was your formula, Mayank?
So let me put it this way, right? So when I came to Australia, I obviously did not know anyone here, and it was not that I had a job immediately as well. So when I started here, I did not look for a job immediately. That's something I've seen most people do, but I was not very keen on initially. It's instantly trying to find a job. My first objective was I've come here to study, and that I wanted to keep as a priority at all times. So what I did was the first semester I started to understand what the workload is like. For me, my learning system is I attend classes. That is where I get most of my learning. Some people study better online. Some people do it from home or at a later point. For me, I need I'm very. I mean, personal understand learning is works best for me because I ask questions. That is something that is sometimes a bit painful for teachers or other people. I ask a lot of questions. For me, if I have a question, I will stop and I will ask the person right there and then, because I need my doubts cleared, otherwise I will not understand the system. And that is the basic objective of me studying. I'm paying the money to actually learn, right? So I intend to get the best out of it. So I used to ask a lot of questions, and I understood how much workload there is. Once I did that, there was a professor, someone at ECU by the name of Michelle Ellis. I don't know if I'm okay with putting her name in.
Yeah, it's fine.
Uh,
Yeah, of course you can.
okay, so
Dr. Michelle
she,
Ellis. Yep.
Dr. Michelle Ellis, that she's the one. So she had requested for people who were interested in volunteering to actually put up their hand. Now, I have been my mother is a teacher, was a teacher before. She used to take tuitions and she used to teach in a school as well. So, and I have also been teaching, to be honest, when I was studying at my schooling, not talking about masters, undergrad. I'm talking about my schooling, my before my year 7. My friend was very interested in learning programming, so he was my classmate, and his mom actually brought him over and she's like, can you please teach him programming? So I was like, sure, I can, but I'm not teacher, but I'm always happy to teach as well. So that was where I had always had my interest as well as a part of it. So that's when I started. I was like, yeah, Michelle wants some help, sure, I'll assist her. Since then I have been assisting her with various volunteering programs, trying to we go to schools in regional parts of WA and actually teach there, like year 7, year 6, like if young kids, we teach them about cybersecurity.
Mm.
The thing about cybersecurity is it is not very complicated. Evolving, yes. You need to understand it, what you're trying to achieve.
Yep.
You need to try. If you understand it, you will be able to put it in very simple words for someone to understand. For example, when you try to teach it to kids, and you're trying to teach encryption, how would you do that?
Mm.
So it's a very complicated process. If you assume it's a complicated process, but they already know encryption, they have been sending secret messages to their friends all their lives, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you put it in their terms. Oh, you don't want your mom to understand the message you're sending, so you send a secret message in some secret design you've already thought.
Yeah.
That is how you send the communication. That is encryption for them. So that is how you would communicate. So those kind of things is what I used to do with Michelle a fair bit. We Yeah, taking part in different events and hosting and organizing events. That is something as a part of this volunteering program we did, which gave me a fair bit of experience. And it it is not just to fill up your resume, trust me on that. It looks really good on your resume, but
Mhm.
it evolves makes you evolve as a person as well, and that is something you really need.
When you were volunteering, it's interesting that you just mentioned about the resume. I think the our view of the perfect resume is to have all these check boxes ticked, isn't it? And then fill up on all those activities. But from what you just said, I think what your focus was to actually um, do something that you were keenly interested in, which was teaching, which was where your passion actually lied, and then use that as a strength to further extend in your volunteer work, right?
Exactly. So you pick what you are actually passionate about, use that, and develop your skills on it. So if you're passionate about something, show that you're passionate about it. Have something to back up. You can't just say, oh, I'm passionate about hacking, but I have no interest, I have nothing on my resume that shows I've done anything. So you take part in events. If you are very passionate about hacking, you take part in events. You do open source hacking things. Like for example, how you have
Like a
hacked the box.
CTF or something, right?
Yeah, CTFs, like hack the boxes is there.
Yeah.
Like that's just an example of. So you can use them and learn from them, and you can show that you have done these things. And uh, that is what has value. Giving You should have examples of what you have done to actually show that you're passionate. If you don't have examples, are you really passionate? How do I know that?
What I hear a lot from students is not all students, obviously, but something we always hear is, "I'm too busy. I'm too busy. Don't have time for this and that." So how did you actually manage to balance focusing on your studies? Obviously, you got top marks. That means you are doing the right thing, going to the classes, asking questions. By the way, as a lecturer, I really enjoy when students ask questions. Believe me, that makes the lecture so much more interesting. And while performing very well in your studies, you were doing all this other volunteer work. So how do you balance this, Mike?
See, it all depends on how you prioritize, right? It's You need to realize you have 24 hours in a day. You have to prioritize what is important for you, and what is something you can do without. So for me, the priorities was getting through my uni with high grades, okay, and having a future. I wish to live in Australia. Australia is a beautiful country, and I wanted to learn a fair few things here. Two things I did was I made sure I studied, right? For my classes, before my class, I would just go through the slides, not have to go in detail. If something that is completely different, like for example, uh, what are blocks and sectors? Like for example, in a hard drive, right? When you do that, you don't. I had no idea about that, to be very honest, because I was not a computer science student. I was a mechanical engineer, and then I did my I was a software dev. I had never had to worry about what is a block, what is a sector in a disk. I had no idea about it. So what happened is, when I joined the first few lectures itself, it was filled with blocks and sectors. I'm like, what is that? So I didn't have to do too much. All I did was, oh, 15 minutes of Google research. Google is your best friend. Always remember that. Google literally is your best friend, okay?
You can find anything there.
Exactly. So you just need to know what questions to ask for what you want done. If you know what questions to ask, you're golden. That being said, I did that. That was It took me, let's say, 15 minutes extra in a day. You could even do it on the train when you're going to work, going to uni. It doesn't matter much. You don't need too much time. You do it there. That was the first thing I did. Um, Fortunately, my marks were pretty good, and I knew I could. take on a bit more load. So first semester, once I realized all my grades were HD, I was like, yeah, I can take up a bit more load. That's not an issue. So when the volunteering program came up, I took that up, and I also got another paying job at ECU itself. Fortunately for me, so
Mhm.
they had a something called as an excellence program. ECU
Yep.
had that, at least at that time. I'm not sure if it's running at the moment anymore,
Hmm.
but they had an excellence program where the staff and the students, as in, depending on your grade, the staff would nominate someone to be an excellence ambassador.
Okay.
So I was fortunate enough to be nominated for that, and uh, because of that, I actually got a job at ECU itself as a project officer. Now that's the role they gave me, a designation they gave me in the marketing team, but I was doing data analysis there. Now, let me be honest, I have not done data analysis before, but again, you have to be keen to learn, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's not directly related to your role, but you never know what something like this might be useful for. So I took up the role of a data analyst there, and yeah, Excel became my most hated enemy, right? Let's be honest.
I think we all had that moment sometime in our lives. Yeah.
Exactly. So I was lucky enough to get it at ECU itself. So the benefit was I could finish off my work and go to studies and vice versa. So I could plan those things around. So I did that, and I still had a decent score, and I was doing the volunteering program. So my priority was always to ensure that my scores did not drop.
Okay.
uh yeah, that's the only way. Like, I may have come down from maybe 89, 86 to about 80, but I made sure that I was above 80 at all times.
Yes.
That was the only condition. All units have to be above 80. That's it.
Yeah, that's a good benchmark. You were always cautious about your studies, which was your priority, and then you took on this additional load so that it would still, your performance in your studies would still remain high, but so you are the best judge of your own abilities and your capacity to take this additional things, and you had the same attitude towards getting doing paid work, which is something a lot of students do when they are studying, casual jobs, which is not uncommon. But studies become your first priority.
Always, yes. It needs to be. You need to realize why you are here. Okay, so okay, I may be wrong in saying studies need to be a first priority. Your priority should be to achieve what you have set your mind on. So
Hmm.
you need to be sure what your priorities in life are, right?
Yep.
If you have, some people come here to just uh because they want to live in Australia, that's the only priority. Some people come here to actually study cybersecurity. Some people have other priorities. It definitely depends person to person.
Hmm.
But if your priority is to actually get good at cybersecurity and learn, you need to study, yes, and you need to do other things that will help you get better. So when you go and talk to students, when you talk to other people, you never know what you may not have heard.
Yep.
Students have other students. When you mingle with other students, when you go to other schools, people talk to their kids about things, so
Hmm.
they might know things you might not even know that you that about,
Yep.
because you can't read everything every time, and you need to take a break from it. This is just a fun way to mingle with people, and you get to learn from them. Like, that's a win-win situation, right? I would say.
Keeping high scores in your studies, did that actually benefit you in the end to get to
Definitely.
where you are right now?
Definitely, yes. So, let me put it this way, right? So, to get an internship, you need to, at ECU, it was at least you need to have a 75%, 70%, I think. You need to have an overall of 70%. It maybe
70%. Yep.
65. I'm not 100% sure, but it's around that benchmark.
Yep.
Now, the thing is, that is something that was very important for me. You
Hmm.
need that. For me, I don't like to just give in like, oh, I've got 70% and that's done. I like to give in my best. You do your best, leave the rest. Okay, so like, you give your best, forget about the results, you will get what you deserve. You put in your 100%, be serious about it. You should be honest to yourself that you have given your 100%. You don't need to prove it to someone else. You always need to prove it to yourself. That's it. If you have felt that tomorrow I am better than what I was yesterday, that is what you want to achieve. You improve every day, even 1%, you're going to be a lot better. or that's the advice I would always give. Try to improve yourself every day. That's it.
That's excellent advice, Mike. Now, circling back to where you are right now, um, how was the experience from transitioning from student into this professional career?
My transition was a bit haphazard, if I would put it. So when I finished during my last semester, I did my internship at Diamond Cyber, right? So I got an internship which was funded by the ACS.
Yep.
So I got a scholarship for that, which was an added benefit. Yes. So I did my internship there, and once I finished that, uh, I was looking for a job. I did not have a job initially. So yeah, I felt low as well. I was like, oh, I've got some high score, but I've still not got a job. But the thing was, I was always aiming for a specific type of roles, and that was not coming my way. So I was a bit, yeah,
Mm.
because I did not apply for other roles. That was my fault. So I should have applied for everything. How that being said, I was fortunate enough because I actually got a role at ECU itself to teach. I was a tutor for computer security and computer forensics.
Mm-hmm.
I actually tutored and a workshop coordinator, or whatever you may call it. I held the workshop for them as well. So I did a semester of that. But what I also realized was, now in the period that I was here, I was actually teaching them what I had learned a few years ago. So I have learned it 2 years ago, let's say. So the people who are teaching me also would have learned it a couple of years ago or so, right? So that meant what knowledge I was imparting to the students was probably a lot more older than
Mm-hmm.
what they should be aware of. So that's why I wanted to get out into the industry and I wanted to actually get a job. And that's when I started applying. So you go look for jobs, you look for any cybersecurity relevant or IT relevant jobs. So I applied at a few places. You look for jobs.wa.gov.au, you look at Seek, you look at a million other places. And you don't think, oh, this is too low for me, this is too high for me. You just apply and you take what you get. So you apply and make sure you actually tailor your resume and application for the job that you're applying. Don't
Mm-hmm.
have a stock resume and application letter and just submit it everywhere. That doesn't help because it does not it is visible to a recruiter, very very evident to a recruiter, because they can
Mm-hmm.
see that, oh, this is a very standard one that you're sending to everyone, and this is, yeah, this is definitely he's interested to work here. And to be honest, if I am hiring someone, for example, if I'm hiring someone to come to be a part of my team, I want them to be interested or show effort in be showing that they are interested to work with me, not just because they want a job.
Mm.
That makes a big difference.
So it's an attitude thing as well.
It's a very important attitude is very important. So you need to have an attitude to actually do good for a company. Show what you bring to the table. Always do that.
Yeah, I think Mike, you've given lots of valuable gems probably for current students and future students who would want to go into the industry after completing their studies. So, just as the last few words, any final advice you might give to students? So, this is uh, coincidentally, this happens to be towards the end of the semester, and students will be preparing to submit their final assignments and getting ready for the exam. So, during this very overwhelming time, any last minute advice you would want to give to students?
I would say, don't get disheartened. Have faith in yourself. If you have put in the effort, you will get the reward. If even if you feel that you may not have done your best, you still have time. You can always pick up new things, learn things, interact with people. So I don't know how many of you actually go to cybersecurity events. I would highly recommend going to them. There are in Perth, especially, there are things like Sec Talks, and you have your meetups, and you also have the second Thursday of the month, the Stotum. Those things are really useful. I would recommend go there. You interact with people from the industry. You people interact with other students who are going through different things. It really helps you improve and understand what all things you can focus on. Apply, keep applying. Don't feel disappointed. It is natural. You may feel it, but don't give in to them. Do not feel low. You will do well. That's for sure.
Excellent. I think we will wrap it up there. Thank you, Mayank, for joining us on the podcast. And I wish you all the best in your career. And I'm very keen to see how you develop professionally and succeed in your career. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Ahmed.
Thank you for joining me in this episode. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at AI8RAHIM. That's AI number 8 RAHIM. And leave a comment or keep an eye out for the next episode.